Hello there and welcome to this video. A lot of people don't know how authorization works. Like for instance, they may want to write an app and they may want people to log in, or they want access to an API or whatever other situation there is. And it's quite difficult how authorization works. Now, because there's so much different ways to log in, it has now been standardized. Everyone uses something called oauth or OpenID Connect. So this is going to explain what a OpenID Connect is. Now, OpenID Connect is an authorization is based off RFC 6749, and this is it here. As you can see, when you look at it here, it's very complicated, as you can see. So let me just go to some sections. So this details everything that you do. Okay, so it details everything. It tells you every single thing about about authentication. This does it. So the reason is, obviously, people want to be secure as possible. So that means if you're a developer and you invent your own way to log people on, it's not going to be optimal. This way is going to be more optimal than your way, so you may as well use this way. So when people look at this, it's kind of impossible. You're going to look at this and say, wow, how do you do all this? Right? So what people then do is they go to, okay, let me go to one that's already been, let me go to one that's already been done. Now, Microsoft Azure do one called ADB2C. That is already done. However, it's still difficult to use because when you look at this, it tells you here that authorize, response type, redirect back, authorization client, access token, and then when you look at this, it's hard to understand what the hell is going on here. How does it work? What is this? How does this log on? So this video will simplify it and explain to you how it works and show you a simplified example of it working. So I'm going to go through this thing a step at a time. So the first thing I'm going to go to is, it says here, client goes to the authorization server. He goes to the authorized thing, and response type is a code, and it redirects back with the authorization code. So I'm going to say what that means. So that part, this part here, can I draw on it? Whoops. This part here, okay, I'm not a good drawer, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub that off. Okay, so this part here where it says redirect back to client with authorization code, I'm going to explain what this means. So authorization, how it tends to pass information, it passes information from client to some other server. It passes it in the URL. Like for instance, I'm going to type down here, I'm going to type window dot location, and this tells me the URL that I'm at here. Can you see? That is the URL. So if I type window location.h, so it tells me the URL, and these are keys. So it's got editor equals that. So if I type, and I type this thing called get, so can you see? It's got editor 101. So that's the information that's being passed in. Can you see it? This function here just gets the information out. Okay. So demonstration of, so what it is, when I want to log in, when I want to log in, I've got to pass some information. Now, I'm going to just talk about it simply. It's going to pass all of this thing in the all of that URL that is passing the information to the URL. So if I copy that, and if I open up another window, and if I just paste it in and just press the thing, what this thing does is all the information that was given to a URL, it's already passed it all in. Now if I press sign in, it's going to use that information to perform action. So if I sign in now, it's successfully signed me in, and let me just change the window a bit. It's successfully signed me in. Can you see how I responded back with? It's responded back with this code. Can you see? Code equals, so I'm going to copy this. And just pause. So I haven't copied everything on it. It's not complete. So I just want to. So that's what it's responded back with. So what I'm going to now do is I'm going to decode this thing here. We're going to use that get query to decode it. Get query. And it's just going to be. So can you see here where it's got redirect URI, and that is that, and that's that there. So can you see it redirected back to here, and it redirected, it also gave us a code. So it's up to us to get the code out of this URL. So it's passing us information in the URL. Okay, so can you see that? We first accessed the link by doing this. We first accessed it like that. So we went to the server. This is the ADBCC server. We went to the server and we passed the information here. And if I decode the information looks like this. Client ID that is that was that. Response type code, so it gave me back a code. Prompt login, code challenge, isn't it? Code challenge is that. Now, if I go back to the diagram here, you can see authorized response type code, redirect back with authorization code. So can you see what I've done? I copied this link here, I logged in successfully, then it redirected back with a code. Can you see? That's the code it gave me. Okay, so that's the first step. So what I'm gonna now do is I've got a program open and I'll show you this in action. Okay, now this is a C# program. I'm just using C# as I'm just using it as a web server. So I'm mainly using JavaScript. Like I've got a controller. Let me just open up the home controller. As you can see, it just passes through, returns view, and that goes to here. We've got two views. One of them is signing and one of them is index. As is obviously, if you know MVC, you know that already. So there's the index. There's the index and there's the sign in. So let's just go back to the index. It's got a page and it's got sign in, unclick, sign in, unclick, sign out, unclick, retrieve token, unclick, call API. Okay. So these are the functions: sign in, retrieve token, call API. Okay. So what I'm gonna now do is I'm gonna now go through sign in, and sign in covers this part here. It's gonna come up to authorized response type code, redirect with authorization code. That's what I'm going to go up to. So I'm going to circle it out now. I think I'm confident enough to circle this out. So that's what we're doing now. We're going to do that part. Authorize, redirect. I'm going to explain every single step. So the first function here, this is just trace. These keys are related to each other. It's just a security check. And instead of me generating them all the time, I've just taken the simple way and just had one set of keys, and I'm just going to use that. Okay. Create nuns. That's just creates the nulls, and it just returns that, so it doesn't really do anything. Okay. So the config now. These are the configs from ADB2C. So I'm gonna pause the video and open my ADB2C. Okay, my ADB2C. Okay, I've got two apps. You can see that one starts with 218 and that's 6515. Now if you look here, you can see that's the 218 and there's the 65C there. So what this does is, this is just a config. So it's Technotalks. The tenant's called Technotalks, and everything else is as it is. Okay. So there's a base URL, and then when you click sign in, this is what it does. It constructs the URL based off all the configs, and it encodes it. And then what this means, what this Windows location equals mean, that's just redirect. So what it does is, when I press sign in, all it's going to do is going to redirect me to that other page. And then I'm going to log in. Once I log in, it will check that my password is correct. And if it's correct, it will redirect back with the authorization code. So you already done that earlier. You remember when I went and pasted it in and it logged in? And then it redirected back to this. And it came back with this code. So this moment I'm going to do this again, but this time it's going to go to some other place. So when it redirects back, it's going to come to here. Let me just open this control. In fact, why am I clicking there? So it's going to redirect to sign in, and that's just going to return to the view, and the view is going to be, it's going to run this script, and that's going to run this function, which is going to be extract tokens, Windows location. As you can see, that is just going to be there. So it's going to get the information from the URL. Okay, and from the URL, it's going to use this. It's going to extract a code, and it's going to store the code in session storage, so that somewhere else in the program can pick it up. And then what it's going to do is, the reason I'm going to show you this is, after it takes the code out, it's going to redirect back to the home page. Can you see this? This means redirect back to the home page. So if I don't show you it now, you won't notice it because it's going to do it so fast. So what I'm going to now do is, I'm going to set the program off and go through it step by step. So just one thing else I wanted to say. When I press sign in, I pass them the code challenge, which is this here, the code challenge, right? The code challenge is this here. So these two codes are related mathematically. So what I do is I pass this one to them, and then when I have to request the access token, then I pass the other one to them, which is here config for, which is the other one, right? So what they do is, if I said give me the code, and somehow a hacker got the code it'll be no good to them, because they would need to have this. They would need to have this file. There's a relationship between these two. So to get the second part, which is to get the access code, they would need to know what this is. Okay. So this is what our process is. When we request the code, we pass that to them. And then when we get the code back, when we want the access code, we have to pass them this. And these two are mathematically related. So unless they mathematically fit together, it will reject it. So that's the added security feature. So I've got this open now. So I've got the console set up here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to press sign in. All it's going to do is redirect to this other server. It's going to redirect to the authentication server. That's all it's going to do. And I'm going to press it now. And all it does is redirect. So what I've done, I've set navigation on. So can you see what it's done? Navigated to. So it's redirected to there. So can you see what it's done then? So if I log in now, it's going to, if the password is correct, it's going to redirect me back to where I said it must redirect me back to. So if I click here, can you see? Redirect me back to here. And I showed you what this does before, so I want to show you again. So I'm going to now sign in, and it's going to check my password, see it's correct, and then it's going to redirect me back. It's gave me back a code. So now, so can you see what's happened here now? So I've now got the code. So this is the code what it came back with. Can you see that? So can you see it navigated to local signing, and it had the code in. Then we took the code out, and then we came back to the home page. So can you see here? Navigated to sign in. So we press sign in, it navigated back to here. We took the code out, we printed the code out, and then we navigated back to the home page. Can you see? So this has been completed. We went to authorize, response type code, redirect back with the author. So now I have to request the access token. Okay. So this part now, I'm gonna do this part. Oops. Which is request the access token. Okay. So all I have to do is do retrieve token. And I'm going to show you what that does now. So retrieve token, just gets the base URL. It gets the code from session storage. It's just going to console log the code. Then the header is just going to set the headers. It's got to be application X form URL encoded. It's got to be that by the standard. It's got to be that. I don't know if you need this or not, but I'll just put it in. Okay. In fact, I think you may well need it. Right. And then the body grant type is config.a code. What is that? Authorization code. So this is the authorization code, right? Scope, config scope, and that's just going to be that there. That's which APIs can use it. Code is going to be the code there, and the code verifier. So this is the thing that even if a hacker intercepted it, they would need the code verifier. Remember I said these code verifier? So these two codes are matching mathematically. So you give it one at the start, and then when you go again, you have to give it the other one. And once you do that, it's going to return me back a code, and I'm going to save it into storage. Okay. So I'm going to now go and retrieve the token and see what happens. So I'm here now. I'm going to clear the screen here. I'm just going to do retrieve token. So that was the code, fetch finished. So it's already given me back an access token. Now if I go to application, so that's it. It's getting an access token, which is that. Expires in an hour. ID token, which is that. Expires in an hour. Refresh token, it's giving me a refresh token, and it's giving me a refresh token expires in a day. So this is the resource that it can be used on, which is 65AC1. So that is the API. It can be used for this API, and the scope. Can you see the scope contains that API 65 whatever that is, and the token type is a bearer token. So this can open that. This can open an API. So I've got such an API. So what I'm going to now do is I'm going to call the API. I'll go to the network tab. I'm now going to call the API and see what comes back. Call API. So this is the actual access token. And I'll call to API here. I just want to open this. Whoops, I think I've done something wrong. Okay, that's better. So this API that I call is a special testing API. So what it does is it just sends back the headers and the object ID of the user. Now, as you can see, that's the information contained in the access token. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this access token here, and I'm going to decode it. This is external decoding. There's a site called jwt.io. So if I just copy it in here, can you see what it's done? It's decoded it. Can you see? So it's got here provider or audience. So that means that that's the API that's the API you can call. The API would have to be that. So when you're coding, this is what you do. A user's gonna log in. The user would log in, get a token. If they're able to log in, that means they're authenticated. So that means they're into your app. They've got an access token, so they can get into your app. Now, how would you know it's them? You decode the token, and you'd be able to get things out like this. You'd be able to get their email, their whatever. You'd be able to get that. But the main thing I would get is this thing here, principal ID, because that would tell you who the user is. There's a number of ways you can get it. You can get it from here. Object identifier. So what you know is this user is logged in, and then what if that user has some favorites and they're logged in and he says, okay, you want to save your favorites? All you have to do is save it against this object identifier. So it's quite easy to do it, and you'd have their city, their name, email address, what they use to sign in. Okay. So that's it. That's how it works. I've shown you how it works now. That's the first stage. That's the second stage. Once you've got the access token, you can use the access token to get into resources. Okay, thanks for watching the video. Bye.